The other important aspect that the RBI regulations cover, which is the third broad aspect of the RBI regulations, is deposits. Alongside the banks, the NHB erstwhile and now the RBI has allowed certain finance companies, certain housing finance companies to be able to accept deposits from the public. So people, individuals like you and me can make investments in fixed deposits with banks and also with housing finance companies. Of course, they are regulated strictly and there are certain regulations that govern them, and they can't just accept public deposits because they have been allowed to. There are regulations and there are tight, stringent norms that they need to follow. Again, as far as the deposits are concerned, I have said this earlier that the whole purpose of RBI to be coming up with these regulations is to ensure that the outsider's money, that is the depositor's money, is protected. And that is why deposits have been classified into public deposits and other than public deposits. There is a definition to public deposits, and all in all, it means the deposits which individuals have made. Of course, there are other factors also which you can see on your screen. These restrictions that the RBI has placed, a majority of them apply to public deposits. Now, to give you examples of the restrictions are that there has to be a full cover for the public deposits, that is, they have to be secured. 6.5% of the deposits outstanding has to be maintained in unencumbered approved securities, which is basically the government securities. An additional 13% has to be maintained as liquid assets. This is just to ensure that in case something happens to the finance company or to the HFC, about 20-21% of the money can come from these assets and can be paid to the deposit holders. Apart from that, there are rules also on how do you solicit deposits, what is it that you should have in the advertisement, what is the minimum credit rating that these deposit accepting HFCs should have, and other disclosures such as the amount of deposits, what is maturing when, what is the kind of cover that they are holding, has to be disclosed in the balance sheet. So the moment a housing finance company starts to accept deposits, which is of course with the prior permission of the RBI, have to go in for detailed disclosures in the balance sheet so that there is more transparency and the depositors know where they are investing. Apart from what we've discussed, the other important aspect is governance and operations. Now, as far as the governance is concerned, governance basically talks about the disclosures that are required to be made in the balance sheet and the annual report. Apart from what is required by the accounting standards or the auditing standards in the country, RBI and earlier NHB required far more detailed disclosures of certain aspects. Now, these aspects, when I talk about, generally consist of what is the exposure to the real estate sector, what is the exposure to capital markets. Detailed disclosures are contained on NPAs, that is, how have the NPAs moved, what is the categorization, how many corporate loans are under NPA, how many retail loans are under NPA, the breakup of housing loans and non-housing loans, etc. There is a detailed disclosure that is given in the RBI regulations, and we will not get into specifics, but all of these aim to bring more transparency and more detailed disclosure so that the world at large knows where the money has been invested. Apart from this, the disclosure, there are also certain committees that need to be formed under the RBI, which is the audit committee and the nomination and remuneration committee. There is a certain mandate that is given to both these committees and the terms of reference within which they are supposed to operate. The RBI also has mandated appointment of a chief risk officer. And what is the chief risk officer's role? What is he or she supposed to ensure as far as the policies are concerned, as far as the overall risk of the company is concerned, and the lending of the company is concerned? This is the mandate for the chief risk officer. Also, because they are dealing with people's money, and again, money is raw material and finished product, they also want to ensure that the people who sit on the board of directors are fit to be directors on the board. Now, when I say fit, I don't mean physically fit, but I mean financially capable of managing and casting a judgment upon the future of the housing finance company. So there is a fit and proper criteria for directors which has been given by the RBI, and only if a prospective director ticks off all the boxes in the fit and proper criteria can he or she be appointed on the board, and not otherwise. There are also regulations on auditor's role. What is it that the auditors are specifically supposed to see apart from the mandate given to them by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the auditing standards, accounting standards, etc., and the Companies Act, of course. RBI has mandated certain more checks that the auditors are supposed to ensure, more disclosures that the auditors are supposed to ensure in the balance sheet, and certain certificates that the auditors have to issue to be filed with the Reserve Bank of India. So broadly, apart from the operational, the lending, etc., the deposits, RBI also governs the way you make disclosures in the balance sheet, the way the directors are supposed to function, the committees, certain other officers such as the chief risk officer, their role, and also what the auditors are supposed to ensure.